Imagine Apple walks onto a stage this September and reveals not one, but two completely different visions of the iPhone's future. On one side, you've got the familiar flagship formula pushed to its limits. The iPhone 18 Pro, bigger cameras, more power, the whole deal. And on the other, a device Apple has spent years avoiding altogether, an iPhone that opens like a book and becomes a tablet. The foldable iPhone could be the headline, but honestly, the 18 Pro might still be the phone most people end up talking about. That's what makes this upcoming Apple event so interesting. September is always iPhone season, sure, but this one is shaping up to be way more than the usual annual refresh. We're expecting fresh Apple Watches, the iPhone 18 Pro lineup, and potentially Apple's first foldable handset. Nothing is official until Apple says it on stage, obviously, but the rumors are pointing toward an early September keynote at Apple Park in California. So today, let's break down what this foldable could look like, why it may cost a frankly ridiculous amount of money, and whether the regular Pro iPhone could quietly become the real star of the show. First, let's talk about the obvious thing. Apple is extremely late to folding phones. Samsung has been making book-style foldables for years, and the latest Galaxy Z Fold 8 shows how refined that category has become. These phones are no longer just weird experiments for people who want to show off at the coffee shop. The best ones combine a normal phone experience when shut with a larger workspace when opened. You can answer messages on the outer display, then unfold it, and suddenly you're looking at documents, editing photos, watching video, or juggling multiple apps at once. And that's exactly the lane Apple is expected to enter. The foldable iPhone, possibly carrying an Ultra name, is rumored to be roughly passport-sized when closed. That means it should still fit in a pocket like a phone, rather than feeling like you're carrying a tiny laptop around all day. But unfold it, and the inside screen could stretch to around 7.8 inches. That's approaching iPad mini territory, just in a device that can fold down to something much more portable. Here's the thing though, hardware is only half the challenge. Plenty of companies can make a large display bend. What separates a good foldable from a gimmick is what happens when the screen changes shape. Apple's advantage, if it gets this right, could be software. Reports suggest iOS 27 may include tools for developers that tell an app whether the phone is folded or open, and even the angle of the hinge. That sounds technical, but the everyday benefit is simple. Apps could respond naturally as you move between phone mode, tablet mode, and that halfway open position. So think about it this way. You're reading a web page on the cover display, you open the phone, and instead of the app awkwardly stretching into a giant version of itself, it rearranges its layout to use the extra room. A video could sit on one half while controls live on the other. Two apps could run side by side without either one feeling cramped. Apple's expected 4:3 inner screen is important here, because that shape is closer to an iPad than the tall narrow panels common in some foldables. It could make the device feel like a genuinely useful small tablet, not just an oversized phone screen. Power shouldn't be the weak point either. The rumored hardware includes Apple's A20 Pro chip and 12 gigs of memory. In plain English, that's a very powerful processor, paired with enough working memory to keep larger apps and multiple tasks moving smoothly. And for a product that's supposed to replace the roles of both a phone and a compact tablet, that matters. If you're paying laptop money, you don't want it struggling the moment you open two serious apps. Now, let's get to what may be the defining feature, the hinge. Every folding phone company has wrestled with the same basic problem. Screens are designed to be flat, but foldables need them to bend thousands and thousands of times. Usually, that leaves some kind of visible or touchable line through the middle of the display. Apple is rumored to be using a teardrop-style hinge design, potentially built with a liquid metal alloy connected to its long-running relationship with liquid metal technologies. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. A teardrop hinge gives the flexible display a broader, gentler curve when the phone closes, instead of forcing it into an extremely tight bend. That could help the inner panel lie flatter once the phone is open and reduce the crease that has become one of the biggest visual compromises on competing foldables. If Apple can make the fold line difficult to notice in normal use, that's actually huge, not because it changes what the phone can do, but because it changes whether the product feels polished enough to justify its premium status. There's also a rumor that this device may be incredibly thin when open, around 4.8 millimeters. That creates another engineering trade-off. Apple may not have enough room for the full Face ID system inside that slim body, which is why Touch ID could make a comeback in the power button. That would be a major change for a modern flagship iPhone. But it also makes sense. A fingerprint reader built into the side button works whether the device is open or closed, and it doesn't demand extra space in the display. Camera fans may need to manage expectations though. Apple's foldable is expected to include 2 rear cameras rather than the 3-camera system found on the iPhone 17 Pro. And that brings us back to the iPhone 18 Pro. because this may be where the conventional model steals attention. The Pro is expected to arrive alongside its larger Pro Max sibling, and it's being positioned around Apple's strongest camera setup yet. For a lot of buyers, that's not a small detail. Cameras are one of the biggest reasons people choose a Pro iPhone in the first place. The Foldable will be the conversation starter. It'll be the thing people line up to touch in Apple stores. But the iPhone 18 Pro could be the more complete flagship for people who want the best photography hardware without paying for an entirely new form factor. That's the battle here, maximum versatility versus maximum refinement. The Ultra could be the ambitious device. The Pro may be the safe, capable, camera-first choice that actually makes more sense for most people. And then there's the price. Brace yourself, because reports have placed the starting cost above $2,000. That is MacBook Pro territory. It's a number that immediately puts this product in a very different category from a normal smartphone upgrade. Apple would be asking customers to pay for a folding mechanism, 2 displays, advanced materials, a very thin chassis, and software designed around a changing screen size. Whether that package is worth it will depend on execution, but this clearly isn't expected to be an iPhone for everyone. Availability is still a question mark. Manufacturing a standard iPhone at Apple's scale is hard enough. Building a brand new folding hinge, producing flexible displays, and maintaining the level of quality Apple customers expect is a whole different challenge. There have been reports that the hinge has been difficult to manufacture at scale. That raises the possibility of a familiar Apple pattern: announce the product in September, then ship it later. The iPhone X followed that kind of schedule back in 2017. But there are also indications that Apple could have the Foldable ready to go much sooner. If that happens, don't expect it to sit on shelves for long. A first-generation Apple Foldable with limited production and massive curiosity around it could disappear almost immediately. Even if the price scares off plenty of people, there will be no shortage of enthusiasts, early adopters, and Apple collectors trying to get one on day one. Now zoom out for a second. Apple entering foldables doesn't just matter for Apple. It could bring much more mainstream attention to the entire category. Samsung, Google, Oppo, and other brands have already done the hard work of proving that folding phones can be practical. But Apple has a way of taking an existing product category and making huge numbers of ordinary buyers finally pay attention. The foldable market doesn't need Apple to exist, but it could absolutely change once Apple joins it. So, will the iPhone Ultra, or whatever Apple ends up calling it, be the big winner of September? It'll almost certainly be the most dramatic reveal. A nearly crease-free folding display, a tablet-like inner screen, a redesigned hinge, and a possible return of Touch ID, that's a serious package. But don't sleep on the iPhone 18 Pro. If Apple delivers its best cameras yet in a more familiar device, the Pro could be the phone that wins the practical argument, while the Foldable wins the headlines. Either way, this could be one of Apple's most important September events in years. So if you're excited to see whether Apple can finally make foldables feel inevitable, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Are you taking the massive screen foldable future, or are you sticking with the camera-focused iPhone 18 Pro? Because this time, Apple might not just be releasing new phones. It might be choosing where the iPhone goes next. So, share your thoughts in the comments section. See you in my next video. Goodbye.